Welcome to the Dental Fix RX pre-training CDET course. This video is on the CRM system, the call log, in Run DFX. This is your narrator, Andy Cohen. So let's get started and talk about the call log, which is actually a CRM system. So I don't know who's familiar with a CRM system. A CRM is defined, it's an acronym for Customer Relationship Management. A lot of sales organizations use the software as a CRM or have CRM software that they use to manage the customer relationships, the leads, the prospecting, the sales cycle from the start, the initial contact, and all the contacts along the way until the end result, and even ongoing in account management. Our CRM system we refer to as the call log. The call log actually documents and records all historical data and correspondence in notes, in a notes format, and actually lists them at the trail end of each record in the software. So to access that and that historical data, you can click a call log option and go to a call log section of the software. Again, that call log section is our version of a CRM. So you can first off search the database for these unique ID numbers that correspond with each dental office in the territory. So we're going to start by searching on this ID number here at the top left corner. When we pull up this ID number by clicking the search bar, the magnifying glass here and searching, it takes us to this profile page. Now this is a lead ID. Customers have unique IDs that generally begin with the number 5, and leads have unique IDs that generally begin with the number 1, as you can see here. So I searched this and I found this lead page. Takes me to this profile and allows me to actually edit the lead up top. The profile, I call it, is because this is all the critical data, all the critical information, including their address and their name. So I'm going to go through this briefly with you. I'm not going to focus too much on a lot of these sections, but I want to touch on what you find in this profile / edit lead page. Of course, the company name. This is Smile Dental Care. A lot of times they have a DBA. You have the option to put a DBA in. Some of this information is blacked out. This is the name of the franchise, the territory, what it's logged at. This is a dental office. A source is a lead source that we get them from, although you do have options to add different sources. Number of chairs. This is generally where I start after the company name, where I start to record the information. You can determine the size of the practice, generally related to the volume of equipment repairs that they need and they have, and judge the size of the prospect for you by looking at this field here and determining number of chairs. So if an office has 8 chairs, they generally might be a pretty good prospect for you. If they have multiple dentists as well, you'll see that they may be a good prospect for you. Now, you can't just change this number of dentists here. You actually have to add dentists to the database that fall under this lead, and therefore that number is pre-populated. That number will change as well. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. You actually have the option right here to add these specific leads into zones. If you're not familiar at this stage with zones, you'll discuss that. If you have territory that has logistical challenges, we recommend setting up a minimal number of zones as needed. A lot of territories don't have zones and don't need them. Location is another option. Territory, this drop-down menu can't be changed because once it's been put into your territory, which is determined by zip code, it's again pre-populated, just shows that territory. So let's move on. Some of this information is not worth our time in the video. Let's jump right down to the address. We actually have options for 3 different addresses. The first one is the main address. That's the physical office address. Sometimes offices have a P.O. box or receive mail at a different location. They have a mailing address, and we even have the option for a billing address if there were a specific P.O. box or they wanted their bills to go to a home office, that sort of thing. So we have office addresses here on the left side. At the very top right side, we have a separate box that has some internal data and some information. When and by whom the lead was entered. We have an active box and a deactivated box, so you can actually uncheck the active box in order to deactivate an office. It gives you some quick reference material, the last time this was called, the last ticket this office had. Internally, we assigned the sales support rep to it through the same screen. It will show that information right here. We have a status. There's a drop-down bar that talks about statuses of each account. Now, this status determines the next call date. I'll get into that in just a moment. For right now, we call offices that have status of standard and hot. I'll get to that in just a moment. We have a place for hours of operation. There's two spots, in fact, for the hours of operation. You can click the top radio button here and use these hours of operation. Pick your hours. We then, and also the days. We also added this box here because we find a lot of the offices have flexible hours, open different days at different times. So you can have the option to click this radio button and edit this information as you see fit. Now, whatever's saved here, whatever radio button is currently on, that information is going to get transferred to the ticket, so you can see this information right on the ticket. Then we have the main contact of that office. Every record has a dentist that's associated with the record. He's usually the owner of the practice, or he's the doctor of record. It has to be registered as a dental office to have a doctor of record. We pull those files right from a lead source, and that main name gets pre-populated right in here. So generally, you're going to have the one main dentist in the office right here at this location. Obviously, these phone numbers and fax numbers are invalid. This is in the test training site. But we have options to add phone numbers, to add fax numbers, to have email addresses, even 2 email addresses for each office, for each doctor here, even a website address. Recommend getting a business card upon each visit and entering this information into the database. You want all the information to be accurate in the database. So if you don't have an email address, ask for one. If you don't have one and the office doesn't have one, make sure that information is not in there. Now, we also have a space for private notes. Private notes is a place for you to put notes that doesn't get recorded on the call log section of the screen. So it doesn't go into the CRM portion, meaning it doesn't get stamped and stayed forever, it doesn't get time stamped. You can delete those private notes anytime. So it's a place for you just to put notes, if you like, something similar to this. If you need private notes, again, it's just a place for you to put something, just a sort of a memo pad on that account, sort of as an overview. Not necessary, but it is an option for you. Now, you also have contacts. So we mentioned that this contact right here is the main doctor at the office. You can add contacts, people that you meet at the offices as you meet them, by simply going down here and clicking on Add Contact. Now, when you click Add Contact, a box like this pops up. This asks you for critical information related to that person that you met into the office. If you want to add another doctor into the office, you would click Doctor right here. You'd add the first name, and you actually need a last name. Now, if you don't have a last name, spacebar will work. You can just put a spacebar. If you want to add them as a dentist, first off, the department you're going to leave blank. This field won't last very much longer. It's going to be removed because it never needs to be toyed with. But the type you want to change. So you want to click down on the type and identify what title that person is that you're putting in. And then you can put specific phone numbers if they have them. Their specific email address is critical if you have them there. If that's your main contact, or that's a second dentist in this case that has their own email address, you can add them right here in this field. After you do that, you click Go. Now you have a place for notes. If you want to identify somebody, you can use that space for notes. And once you have them saved, entered, you can click Save, and the contacts actually get listed right down here. So you see, I've added myself into the database. Eva and Lori are already pre-added to the database, and all the information is shown right here at the bottom of the screen, including email addresses. Now, you cannot go back and delete contacts, but if you don't, and your contacts will actually show on the ticket along with the hours of operation. Once you have a ticket, you want all that information to be accessible. So if you don't want it to show on the ticket and that contact's no longer at that office, you can simply click here and deactivate that office or deactivate that contact. Now you'll see this number up here, number of dentists, now that I added myself as a doctor, a dentist into the system, this number pools and it's been pre-populated. There's 2 dentists in this office and it still shows as 8 chairs. Now anytime you make a change to this screen, you have to find the save button. There's one at the top, there's one at the bottom. Once you click save, all the information will be saved and it'll actually tell you at the top left that the information has been updated and the time it was updated. So again, all this information is critical to the dental office themselves. You can add contacts and add information directly to the database and edit the customer profile information as you see fit. Now I want to take you to the call log screen. Now, just like the add contact, the save button, the call log screen can be accessed from various places in this profile page. So at the very top you see call log, in the middle of the bottom you see call log, and you see there's a check mark. The check mark means that there are notes that have been added in the call log to this office. So day 1, before this office is called, once it's entered in the system, this is actually a red X. But once activity has been recorded there, then the call log shows a green check. So let me take you directly to the call log. Now the call log pops up a separate window. So once I click the call log, it brings up a window that looks exactly like this. This is the call log. Now you'll see, I'm going to start at the very bottom of the page. This is history that I'm highlighting. It's history, what happened in this office. It records invoices, tickets, any correspondence that's noted in here, it records. So you can actually technically have a running history of everything that's gone on. You even have an option to view it by the last 50. So once you've been in business for a long time, you can see the last 50 notes, or you can see everything that's happened in that office. Now we don't quite have 50, so everything's going to show on one page. But you may have multiple pages. You even have the option to view this information, the history, without showing the tickets. You can uncheck this box right here. I like to see everything. A lot of people do. That's why we have it defaulted to show you tickets as well. Now down here at the bottom, you have all this information. You can even separate it by clicking on the specific tab. You can look at the calls, which is everything that's happened in there. You can even look at just the tickets. Now you can look at the tickets by what's been open, what's currently open, what's been closed, and of course all the tickets. You can even look at the invoice history as well. You can look at the invoices, you can look at the estimates that we've written, and you look at a combination of both. Now in this case, this is still a lead. They have not been invoiced, and that's why you see no information down here. Let's go back to the call tab. So this is the call log. I'm going to now take you up to the top part. Every piece of correspondence that's not a ticket or an invoice should be noted here. And you want to put a note in basically when you have any level of communication. They call, the account managers do this, the sales support staff does this. They record in your database every bit of conversation they've had with any contact at the office. It can be labeled by purpose. The CRM portion really focuses on marketing. the customer relationship management. This software, the call log screen, is best used for marketing the business for the purpose of getting customers. Now, you can log any activity. If you're making collections calls, doing customer satisfaction calls, an office calls in with a billing question, maybe specific complaints or just information needed. All those purposes of this specific call can be recorded. I'm going to record this as marketing. There's a status, optional for you. If you want to change the status, you can put that. You can even put the subject. If you like to record a subject, you can record. This, I'm going to make a note, and this was from a cold call. Now, when I make a cold call to an office, meaning I walk into an office with no information, I should then record that as well. I'm recording it as marketing. It's a high priority or a high status. The subject is listed as cold call. These are both optional, but I should also record that I actually did walk into the office. Now, the difference in inbound, outbound, and walk-in, very, very clear. Walk-in, you walked in. Outbound means you made an outbound phone call, and inbound means they called us. And then you would just simply write the notes for the call. There's my note. Very simple. It's a lot of what you're going to see is going to be shorthand because these are quick notes that you should make after all correspondence. You'll learn about some of our abbreviations we use in the Operations Support Center when marketing your business. This is a note for the call. Short and sweet, very simple. Now, if I have a follow-up call, if a lot of my marketing activity is going to require, as part of a process, a follow-up call. So if Eva tells me that she is interested, they use Benco, but she's not the decision maker, she's going to tell me to, we're going to get a commitment from her to give the information to the doctor. And then what we would do is schedule ourselves a follow-up call. So down here in the second box, this is a follow-up note. This tells you what you want to show in your calendar. Call Eva to schedule an appointment with a doctor. Very simple. This note right here is going to show up in your calendar if this remind me box is checked. Now you see this remind me box is always checked by default because we promote that you follow up for any marketing activity like this. We want you to follow up. So if there's no follow-up required, you would simply uncheck the remind me. But in this case, we're going to call Eva back to schedule an appointment with the doctor. Therefore, we want remind me checked, and then we're going to change the date and possibly the time. This next call date is pre-populated to show a specific call rotation date that's defaulted in the strategy we use when marketing. So for instance, we'll get into this during training, but if you've been open less than 6 months, we call these offices every 30 days. Which means your next call date would be 30 days from the day that you're making this note from the current day. In this case, it looks like it's probably about 45 days because we're towards the end of October currently. So it's a 45-day date. We have the option to override this if we want to show this follow-up note as a reminder on our calendar. We would override that date and pick the day that we want to do the follow-up call. In this case, I'm going to do it October 22nd. And we even have the option to pick a time. Let's say we're going to give them a call at noon on the 22nd. Then we would simply hit save and close right here. And now this information is going to be on our calendar. So let's go back and look at this information, see where to see it on our calendar. Going back to my panel, you can find this in follow-ups listed for Follow-ups by specific time. There's none today. There is this one for tomorrow. I scheduled this. I made the call on the 21st. It's my next call scheduled, since I overrode the default date, is tomorrow the 22nd. And here's my follow-up note made by me. Now, the sales support reps in the operations support center use a very, very similar system. They actually work off of this tab and they find their specific notes. Now, for your purposes, you're generally going to be working off of the calendar. So I'm clicking on the 22nd, the calendar day, and you're going to see I'm going to have tickets listed here, and I'm also going to have any applicable follow-ups listed in this section. So there it is. I actually scheduled it at 12 a.m., not 12 p.m., but right here at 12 a.m. is my link to my call log reminding me that I have to call Eva to schedule an appointment with a doctor. I mentioned this is a link. All these are links if they're underlined. So if I click on Smile Dental Care right here, it actually take me to the customer profile page, which you recognize right there. But if I click this CL, that's a link to the call log, that will pop up a different window, which is the call log, the CRM portion of the system, and actually show me my history of notes. You'll see the last note that I made right here. We did this one together. You'll see the follow-up activity, and you'll see that it was scheduled for this day. All the information has been recorded here, and again, this corresponds with your calendar if you schedule yourself a follow-up with a remind me box checked. During your van launch training, we'll cover this in great detail because we'll use the system, the CRM system, while marketing your business pretty heavily. And then for months after that, we'll stay focused on marketing to build the customer base. And you'll really focus on the follow-ups, the calendar, the notes, the CRM system, and try to build a database of activity. While the operations support center, the sales support staff specifically, also does the same thing to build the brand on their end and help you to get customers. You'll focus on the CRM system. We'll cover more of it in training. That's the end of this presentation. This video on the call log notes and CRM system. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good day.